Hey guys, and welcome to Crazy Burger. So in this video it's going to be something of a trip down memory lane, arcade memory lane if you will, and I'm looking back at all the sort of arcade games I can remember playing growing up. This is probably around about the sort of early 90s perhaps, but there's going to be some arcade games from the 80s as well in there. It's mostly 80s and 90s arcade games that I remember playing back in the day, whether it be 10 pence for a game and occasionally it was 20 pence as well, but obviously that's long gone those days. But anyway, this is basically a trip down memory lane for me, just looking at all those arcade games I remember playing, some good, some really bad. Let me know how many you remember, and let me know what ones are your favourites. Let's look at those games. So first up we got Alien Storm from Sega. This was all the way back early 90s I believe. I remember playing this at the time and remember it calling me in. The graphics were really cool, loved the Alien style, but the only thing is I thought that the game was absolutely brutally difficult and I never got far at any point. I don't even remember getting off the first level. Now these games will be coming at you in alphabetical order, no ranking and no rhyme or reason for where they are placed in the video, just alphabetical order.
Hey, good job. Hey, good job. Good job.
So this is Cabal and I absolutely loved this game. 10 pence would probably get me quite far into the game and it was quite unique. I don't really remember many games that had this sort of unique third person perspective where you shoot into the screen at all these enemies coming at you, tanks and helicopters and all sorts. You get grenades, you can upgrade your weapons occasionally as well. Brutally tough, yes, but I absolutely loved it. And I later enjoyed the C64 version that was released shortly after. I really loved it. Really cool game and it was actually quite good fun in two-player as well. Next we've got Chase HQ. Now it's not a game I play an awful lot in the arcades because I found it quite difficult. Quite often when I played it I probably wouldn't even reach the first car because I was making such a mess getting there. I think you've got about 60 seconds sorry, to even reach up to the sort of bad guy, and then you need to sort of bash him off the road and then you move on to the next stage. Really cool game, absolutely enjoyed it, but I was terrible at it, and as I said, quite often I wouldn't even reach the bad guy and it would be game over and I said, what the heck happened there? No idea. Crude Buster, I absolutely remember this. Just because you always heard the noises, the characters. I think the fact that you could sort of pick up enemies and weapons is one of those things that stood out about this game. It was brutally difficult, very charming. I love the sort of voice effects as well, and the sound effects and graphics. Although the arcade version of this is unbelievably tough. Obviously, we got a really decent Mega Drive version of this called Two Crude Dudes, which is really good as well, and probably a little bit more fun to play. But this version is definitely the better version. The graphics, the more colourful graphics, the sounds, really cool. Brutally tough. You would need a lot of 10p's to get far in this game. Next up, another Sega arcade game. This is Cyber Police ESWAT, which I really enjoyed. It's probably one of the older sort of arcade games, and there's a lot of arcade games that had that kind of similar style, sort of run and gun style game, so to speak. Very simple and easy to play. That's probably why I quite often maybe picked up and played. Never really got that far in it, because again, like a lot of arcade games, they are brutally difficult, but nice just for a quick play. Final Fight, an absolute classic arcade beat 'em up. I probably played this every single time I went to the arcade. It probably was the most popular arcade game in the local arcade that I went to. I remember there was always someone at the machine playing this game, and no wonder. It's probably one of the best arcade games of all time, in my opinion. I loved it. There was a really decent conversion on the Mega CD as well, which I got to play at home. Two-player was also fantastic. I think if you really wanted to make good progress, two-player was probably the way to go. I remember getting it on the C64 as well, and it was absolutely awful. So for me, arcade version, the best one to go for. So Football Champ could well be one of my most favourite football arcade games there. It always sort of enticed me in. You could hear the sounds from the other end of the arcade. Goal, Football Champ, all the time. It would drag you in. And I love playing football games in general, but the arcade ones were always the best, especially at that time. I think with the C64 and stuff I had, there really wasn't that many good football games on it. Microprose Soccer, I guess, being the exception, and obviously Emlyn Hughes Soccer. But this one was fantastic fun, and I love the fact that you could obviously punch and kick the opponents, and the referee would obviously be too busy lying on the ground to actually notice. What a game! Absolutely loved it. A real favourite of mine. So next up, another Sega arcade game. This is Golden Axe, an absolute classic. Great two-player game as well. And I remember playing this quite a lot back in the day. Probably the best I ever got to in the arcades, with 10 pence was probably onto the second sort of stage. But really, really cool, and thoroughly enjoyed it. I also enjoyed the sort of Sega Mega Drive or Mega CD versions that we got free with the actual console when we bought it. Excellent stuff, an absolute classic, no doubt about it. Next up, we've got Hit the Ice. Not really a game I played an awful lot of it. I don't think it was in the arcades that long, or at least wasn't in the arcade I was at for that long. But always stood out because of the sort of large sprites and the sort of loud sounds that came from it. But I don't think I was particularly good at it, so my gameplay never really lasted that long, just like it does in this video. But no doubt it stands out. Very cool, graphically superb. But for me, probably at the time, the best hockey game was to play NHL 94 or 93, I can't remember which one, on the Sega Mega Drive. Absolutely superb. Unbeatable still, in my opinion. So no doubt in the early 90s, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter were all the rage. Everyone was playing them and loving them. Personally, I preferred Mortal Kombat 2. I thought the first Mortal Kombat game was particularly hard, but I don't remember playing Mortal Kombat 2 in the arcades, just the first one. I liked it, but there's no doubt the second one was a far superior game and a great conversion on the sort of Sega Mega Drive as well. I'm not sure which game I preferred, Street Fighter 2 or Mortal Kombat. Once you get into both of them, they are really cool, and no doubt those finishing moves or the fatalities made these games stand out really well, or bad.
Excellent. Johnny Cage wins.
So next up we've got Pit Fighter, one of those games that certainly stood out because of the sort of graphics that were used. It looked like real life characters fighting against each other. There was nothing really much like it at the time. I remember it being next to Final Fight in the arcades, and obviously once you finish one game you'd probably move on to the other, but it's probably the worst arcade game in this video, but I had to include it. I definitely played it quite often, but it's terrible. There's a lack of moves, and it's not really a lot of fun, and obviously the conversions that we got at home on the various formats were just equally as bad, if not even worse. So next up we've got Shadow Dancer. This one would always entice me in because you would hear the sort of wolf howling from the other side of the arcade, so you'd always say, what the heck's that going on, and you would go and have a look and have a shot. Now I really enjoyed these games. Unfortunately I felt the game's too difficult because it's basically a one hit kill. Once you get touched or hit by the enemies, you'd basically start all over again at the start of the level, which is extremely frustrating, but there's no doubt it's a really cool game. An energy bar would have been nice. So next up we've got Smash TV, an absolute cracking game for de-stressing after a really bad day, and this was like a game show where you're sort of put into the middle of these arenas, taking out all the enemies to win amazing prizes. Sounded a bit like The Running Man, I guess, but wow, what a great game. It's a twin stick shooter style game, which was just an absolute blast. I remember playing a lot of the home conversions as well, and all of them were really good fun as well.
Good luck! You'll need it!
So no doubt if you were in the arcades in the sort of early to mid 90s, you would have seen this game, Street Fighter 2. Lots of various different versions of it were hitting the arcades, extremely popular at the time, and maybe even arguably the most popular arcade game of all time, perhaps. But wasn't really a favourite of it, but there's no doubt I got caught up in the sort of fun that was going on in the arcades and even the home conversions. Obviously the Super Nintendo got a really cool version, then the Sega Mega Drive got one as well. Both really cool, and I really enjoyed it. I did get into it and somehow did master it at one point, but now I'm just terrible at it. Still, an absolute classic for its time. So this is Tehkan World Cup from Tecmo, which was, I think, released in the mid-80s, but it was still going about the arcades that I was at in the early 90s, and it was one of those unique sort of cabinet, sort of top-down style cabinets where you sort of played looking down at the screen. A little bit strange in style, but it worked. It was so good. Perhaps could well be my most favourite arcade game of all time, certainly my most favourite arcade football game of all time, and 10 pence would last me easily from half an hour to an hour every single trip that I went there, and I would play this every single time I went to the arcade. Really enjoyed it. The first few stages are pretty easy to sort of score goals, but after that, from the fourth round onwards onto the World Cup final, really tricky. You sort of had to hone your sort of techniques and how to sort of score a goal. Quite often I would actually win the World Cup eventually because I played it so much I became pretty good at it, but these days I really struggle to get maybe up to the 5th or 6th sort of stage. Love it though, really cool. Perhaps not the best football game ever because you can't really pass the ball, you really just get the ball, run, shoot and try and score, but still, it's a great arcade game. Next up, we've got the Combatribes from Technos. I don't really remember playing this game an awful lot, but it certainly stood out. Obviously, the sort of larger sprites and graphics were quite cool. I love the fact you could sort of lift up the bike and you can sort of bash the sort of guys' heads together and sort of throw them about as well. Very unique. Perhaps not the best sort of example of a scrolling beat 'em up. I think Final Fight and various others certainly surpassed it, but still very cool, and one I've still enjoyed recently on the Evercade. Next up, we got Toki. This is another one from TAD Corporation. The other game that we included here was Cabal. I'm not really sure who owns the sort of licensing for these games. It would be nice to see these appear on Evercade. But anyway, this one was really cool. I thoroughly enjoyed playing it. Graphically nice, very cool. Obviously, you're being transformed into this sort of ape monkey, and you're obviously trying to get that fixed. But anyway, really standout game for me, but it was really tough. I never ever got past the first stage, but I always like to play it because it looks really nice. It's quite unique and decent enough, I guess, to have a quick bash at, but it wouldn't be my go-to game, I guess. I did actually purchase this on the Nintendo Switch fairly recently. There was a sort of remastered version of it, and it is very cool, but still unbelievably tough. Fascinating fact, I also owned this on the Commodore 64 cartridge, one of the few games I did own on cartridge. Really enjoyed it, nice sort of version of the game, still brutally difficult. I can't remember all the Commodore cartridges that I owned. Robocop 2 was another one, Shadow of the Beast was perhaps another one, and I think that was it. Oh, Navy Seals was the other. I think that was all I ever owned on Commodore cartridge. Anyway, totally irrelevant to this story, but anyway, I thought I'd let you know. So another Tecmo football game. This is World Cup 90, which was doing the rounds, obviously around about the World Cup from Italy at that particular time. Really loved playing this game, but I guess shortly after this it was surpassed by games such as Football Champ, which stood out far more because of the sort of larger graphics and faster paced game style. And this one was probably a little bit too slow, but still it was good fun at the time. I do remember playing this quite a lot. Quite tricky to play, but still a standout arcade football game for me. And final game of this sort of journey down arcade memory lane. This is WrestleFest, the sort of obvious WWF game at the time. Obviously it's now WWE, but now WWF at the time, it had a sort of selection of sort of characters, or sorry, wrestlers to choose from, and 2 events to sort of pick. You had the Royal Rumble or the sort of tag team option. Now that wrestling at that particular point was absolutely huge. Obviously it's still a big thing these days, but the sort of standout sort of wrestlers you remember from those times: Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Mr. Perfect, total stars of that particular time. I loved the graphical style, big colourful graphics, huge sprites, extremely difficult game, right enough to play. I think if I recall, the sort of health bar was extremely small, so there's no chance you would get far on 10 pence. Still really cool for its time. And that's it, guys. That's my trip down arcade memory lane. All the sort of games, arcade games that I remember playing in the early 90s when arcade was absolutely booming. Let me know, guys, which ones do you remember? What are your favourite arcade games? And let me know the ones that you remember playing when you grew up playing in the arcades. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you again in the next one. Bye for now.